One more. Give them a hand.
Good evening. Paul Gatter here.
Now we're
We're gonna
calling
start the show
all
with
head
a
staff to
big
come out
interview
here for
with
a
Ricky
smoke
White.
dance.
He's an educator,
All
powwow
the
MC,
head
and so much more. We'll
singers
start
of
that
all
in
the
just
drum
a minute
groups.
more. Thanks for being here. You're watching Smoke
Yep,
Dancing
that's a good call,
from the
Regis.
Gathering
We
Nations
need
Powwow.
head singers, the lead singers of every drum group here, and your best cutter, and the downbeater, the one that does the slams.
The heaviest one.
Lead singer for Highway 212, come on out.
Heath Hill's calling out, challenging Ruben Littlehead.
Contest, we $5 together, we're gonna start a drum singers. Yeah.
One more.
Hello and welcome to Powwow Nation Live. This is the weekly show from PowWows.com. Thank you for being here. I'm Paul Gatter, and I appreciate you being here. We got some announcements, and then we'll get to an interview with Ricky White. Ricky, great friend, known him for years. It was so great to visit with him up in Manitowoc just a few weeks ago, and recorded the interview a couple days ago with him. He is a powwow MC, your voice you'll all recognize, but he's also an educator, a consultant, and he's got some really interesting info to share on what we need to do to get our students and our schools better equipped for what's going on. I think you're going to enjoy it. It's a really interesting topic, especially if you have some students or teachers in your life, or if you are one of those. Share this interview with them. He's got some really important things to say. But first, let's get to some announcements. We do have a contest going on right now from our friends at Pendleton. We are giving away this Pendleton blanket, Pendleton pillow, and this Pendleton blanket. You can enter over at PowWows.com/win. Here we go. Woo, almost dropped it. This is called Drumkeeper. It is part of their American Indian College Fund project. And let's see if I can. There's the back side. Gorgeous red and blue blanket. Will be awesome for whoever wins that. PowWows.com/win. Check that out over there. And I also want to give a special shout out to tonight's sponsor. The Indigenous Voices of America is coming to the Smithsonian, the Native American. Let's start that again. The Indigenous Voices of America is coming June 26th through July 4th to the National Museum of the American Indian in Washington, D.C. It is sponsored by the Smithsonian Folklife Festival. I got to go up to the museum back in end of April, no, May. I got to go up there and spend a day visiting some of the exhibits. I was up there for a conference with Meta, and so I got to spend some time at the Smithsonian, and it is such an incredible place. You need to go just to see the exhibits and see what they have going on in there. Everything from some incredible historical artifacts and relics and the beadwork and all this stuff, but then they also have some really amazing modern day native art. And June 26th to July 1st, they're going to have some really cool things going on with their Indigenous Voices of America. It's going to feature performances from all types of different Indigenous groups from across North America. So you don't want to miss this one. Thanks for them for sponsoring tonight's show. Marshall, hello. Welcome, Marshall. Glad to see you, man. What's going on? Russell from Danville, Kentucky. Hello, hello. I'm actually heading to Kentucky this weekend. Pretty excited. First time going up there. I'm going to go do some tours up there. So excited to go there for my Father's Day weekend. All right, other announcements. Let's talk about the powwows that's going on this weekend. Over in Williamsfield, Ohio, we've got the Honoring Our Ancestors. It is their 20th anniversary. It'll be happening 14th and 16th. And this is Father's Day, so get out there and dance for Dad, or grab him and take him to a powwow. Also going on this weekend in Portland, Oregon, the Delta Park Powwow is happening. It is their 51st annual powwow. It's going to be happening on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Lots going on up there. You can find out more about all of this over at PowWows.com/calendar. Over in East Brunswick, New Jersey, they're also hosting a powwow. We got some good contests going on. First place is $1,000 in each category. So you can find out more over there. Limited seating, all guests are welcome. So they're going to have contests and some other things going on there. 21st annual Father's Day powwow happening in Imperial Beach, California, 15th and 16th. Dancing Cloud Singers, Red Warriors. Looks like this is going to be another good one out there on the West Coast. Thunder Horse is happening in Arizona, 15th through the 17th. So that is just a few of the powwows that's happening this weekend. We're adding more to the calendar every day. There are powwows happening in every single state and all over Canada, and we've got them all listed on our calendar. So go check that out. Like I said, we are updating the calendar every single day, making changes, getting new information, and adding new powwows as we find them. PowWows.com/calendar. And if you want me to send powwows to you right to your email, you can go to PowWows.com/powwows near me, and I'll send them right to you. Thanks to our patrons for supporting PowWows.com. You can help support shows like this, interviews like this, and all the articles, and more importantly, all the live streams we do from powwows. And we have a lot of live streams planned for this summer and fall. So if you want to help support PowWows.com, head over to PowWowNation.com. You can join for as little as $2 a month. You can get some exclusive discounts on our stickers and merch. We have a monthly community Zoom and all kinds of other stuff that are going on over there on the Patreon. Would love to have you join us over there. I think that is all the announcements. So let me tell you a little bit about our guest tonight. Ricky is Anishinabe from the Whitefish Bay First Nations in Ontario, Canada. He is a member of the Whitefish Bay Singers. If you've been around powwows at all, you've heard their songs. Over the last 22 years, he has served as an Ojibwe language and culture teacher, assistant principal, executive director of education, superintendent of schools. He's actually won Educator of the Year in Minnesota, Minnesota Education Administrator of the Year, and now he runs First Nations Consulting, and he helps schools, students, teachers, and he works with them to educate them on really reaching Native students and really helping all students. And I think you will really enjoy what he has to say. It was fun talking to Ricky about this. He is so knowledgeable and has been doing this for so long. I love his take on education, and especially I know down here in the South, they are trying to take culture and all of this out of the classroom. And Ricky has a great perspective on why we need to make sure it stays in the classroom. So here's my interview with Ricky White. I'm so excited to have my guest today. you'll recognize the voice, but today we might talk a little bit more about some of the things he does outside the powwow circle. So thank you so much for being here. Please introduce yourself.
Aha, bonjour. Miga nana kutindigo. Pizhew do tem not comigo aning Anishinabe. Ricky White. Disha shagana shijinika. So, traditional Ojibwe Anishinaabe protocol introduction, my spirit name. And of course, I'm Lynx Clan, and I come from a little reservation in the middle of Treaty 3 territory, northwestern Ontario, called Whitefish Bay First Nation, right? Whitefish Bay Singer, longtime member, and of course, it's proud lineage when you think of growing up on a drum and everything that comes with it. My English name, as I said, is Ricky White. So, bonjour, hello.
Well, thanks for spending some time with me today. It's always good to we got to visit a little bit up there in Manitowoc, and I always love going to powwows and getting to be with you up there on the stage, but hearing the stories, and you're one of those MCs that, because of your knowledge and your background, you're able to really kind of tell some stories and do more than just announce what's going on. So I appreciate that, and we had a good time up there in Winnipeg.
Well, I think that's kind of rooted in what we would call responsibility. A lot of times we think of it as a burden. These things and these experiences that we've gone on, in our travels and whatnot, and of course, rooted right there within your community and your familial teachings. And my spirit name is Niga Nanakut, which means in front of the cloud, right? But it's not necessarily just all about leadership. It's the kind of leadership grooming, I suppose, that I received as a result of that name and the upbringing. And a lot of it were those grandmother whispers in your ear. And oftentimes, Paul, what she would whisper in my ear, or, at times wherever that might be, in the blueberry picking harvest time, or wild rice harvest time, or fishing, or just right there in her home, she would tell me, Niga Nanakut, true leadership is that you are going to make others feel good just having met you. And in order to do that, that comes a certain personality. And in our Anishinaabe ways, we have what's called 7 grandfather teachings. And one of the ones that really resonate is that humility and humbleness. To not say that you're the best at anything, or that you're better than anybody, or that you own all this knowledge. It's to really just honor, cherish, and recognize so many folks that have been in your life. And when you speak that way, and when you resonate out that way, not saying again that this is the only way, as you're well aware, Paul, with PowWows.com, you're so far and wide, you reach such an audience. So many of our folks have their traditions. We just maybe alter a little bit in our customs and the way that we end up doing things. Our smudging, I don't even want to call it routines, but when we do that, it's maybe a little different everywhere. But it's important that we share this perspective. And what I've often found is when I'm announcing or whatnot, that speaking culturally is another piece that really resonates with the audience. And so I find that you end up honoring, those folks that have had such an influence, and reminding you of the good of what we can share. So that's kind of what takes the lead in most anything that I do.
Love that. I love that. Love that teaching.
Yeah.
Now, I think there's probably a lot of people here at PowWows.com know you from hearing your voice and being at those powwows, but you also have, I love finding and telling the stories of folks, especially powwow folks that we're all familiar with and have grown up with, for years, and finding out what you do outside of the dance arena. So tell me a little bit about your background as an educator.
Wow. Well, I think as an educator, you think about that name, Niga Nanakut. It's really a finding of a way that you're going to contribute. If we think of that cloud, and the cloud is all of our people, and it's not necessarily that we're lost or don't know where to go, but we need some guidance to help us maybe achieve that good way of life. I've met so many Dakota relatives who talk about this mystery of life, that we're a mysterious people because we're constantly wanting to try to find this good way of life. And so that really landed me and launched me into education. And I started out as a teacher of middle school students in St. Paul Public Schools. And I was an Ojibwe language and culture teacher and American Indian art and music. First time it had ever been done with middle school students. And at that time, I kept, on with my studies, and school administration came into my realm. And for literally about 20 years, I worked as a school administrator, and that was just such a resounding experience of the systems of education that exist in right here in America. I live in Fargo now, but right as well in Canada, the education systems. And what I came to find was looking at so many of our Native students, our First Nation students, that education really, the way that we have it here today, wasn't built to include us. The folks that write the curriculum, we are vanquished and almost removed from the content that is being taught. And so what I came to find very quickly is that our people were like ghosts in schools, and that ended up resonating in how we were performing. The reality is, right now in America, barely 50, sometimes 60, depending on the years, percent of our Native students graduate high school. And there is information galore on why that happens. But what I found is that there were two pretty big things. It was the attitudes of the educators within the school, who basically don't know what they don't know. It's not necessarily their fault either, because they've been encompassed in the same situation of really knowing nothing about Native people. And so their attitudes are such that, yes, they're going to treat everybody the same, and no question about that. But when you have a populace of Native American students walking through your door who already have a sense of, gosh, this is going to be a challenge here. What ends up happening is that two-part piece, the teacher attitude, and then let's just say the self-esteem or the wherewithal of our Native students that are coming in a system that just doesn't really make sense and doesn't fit, and that's historically. And so, attendance rates are, we're the lowest attenders of school, performance on math and reading, and, every matrix that you can imagine the Native American struggles with, including behavioral, including the highest represented special ed, because the system says there must be something wrong with these kids. So let's identify them as a learning disability of some sort. And so when I saw all of this happening, it launched me into another realm that I think schools just need to, let's just say, be more culturally educated. There's a big buzzword of cultural competency out there. And so what I've really done is launched into First Nations consultants. It's a solo job pretty much. And where, as a school administrator, I hired so many consultants to help me with the program. And what I realized is we're shoving just more of the same stuff down our Native students' throats that doesn't make sense to them. It became more Confucius. We maybe made some gains, but I think the identity, when students are grounded first in their Native ways of life, their First Nations ways of life, when they see that resonance, there is a connection and a spark that happens that we cannot find in the matrix of numerical data on a qualitative level, on a level where they're able to say and share, man, I'm being recognized here. I'm being identified. They're actually talking about things that I am and who I am. And that really awakens a spark. And what I found in this consulting now is that, the schools and school districts that I'm working with is an intentionality and a purposefulness of infusing just bits and pieces, some sprinkles of Native American content into the program with themes and whatnot. And wow, is it having a resonance with our Native population? So much more, Paul, to where I actually have a motto for the company, and the motto and slogan that I've used as a champion of the work is what is good for Native Americans, or what is good for Native American students is good for all students. And so it's really made that type of connection out there to bring everybody together using Native American themes and concepts as a guide. It's been glorious.
So I love the idea of cultural competence. It's a great ideal. But I saw in the news this morning here where I am in South Carolina, where legislators are getting involved in the classroom and trying to pull cultural references out. And I think one of the things the news was saying this morning is we don't want to teach any kind of cultural that may not share the beliefs or the values of the parent. Now, I was like, that just doesn't sit. I mean, so how do you address, especially down here in the South, this idea of removing critical race theory and these buzzwords of trying to pull history and culture out of the classroom? And I hear you wanting to put more of it in. So how do you, what's the argument for those folks?
Well, that's such we see it every day in the politics of how things end up unfolding, and those buzzwords of critical race theory has really scared many educators. I'm not kidding. Everywhere that I've gone, that word really scares kind of the heart and the soul and the life out of folks, because what it ends up happening is these folks end up being scared that they're now going to be called maybe racist, right? That's such a powerful word to call and represent someone. And so as we've politicized this thing, and as it's gotten momentum, I think folks have just really lost the reality of what it is. And what, culturally speaking, is actually honoring, right, the identity and the person that is right there in your classroom. It's called relationships. And what I have seen is the exact opposite of what legislators and folks that are saying, oh, we shouldn't be teaching that kind of history or this culture because it really removes us from recognizing ourselves. What I have actually noticed is it does the exact opposite of that. The point of reflection. I can tell you, I got a, for example, a math teacher that I recently sat with, a guy who's been doing this for 30 years. And he said, Ricky, I wish I would have met you 30 years ago, because he said, I ended up, sprinkling in some of these Native American best practices that you brought to us here. And this is heavy, conservative, Midwest, like you can erase South Carolina and I'm just going to say it, North Dakota, as far as the title of the states. And I'm not saying that's bad. It's good, good teachings. But this teacher ended up sprinkling in, and he said, you know what, students, and these were Dakota students, he said, I am in a training right now with an Ojibwe guy named Ricky White. And he talked to me about really digging in a little deeper. I teach math, but if I'm going to have you learn from me as a math teacher, you need to also respect me and for who I am. But if I initiate that by respecting and honoring you and yours, that's going to allow us to really nurture and have this, kind of safe, free, willing learning environment. So he learned so much more about these Dakota students. They came and they talked about their family, their ceremony, the different things, of course, the powwows that they attend. And he said, there was like an awakening, just like you said, Ricky. And then all of a sudden, he said, next thing you know, I had some like Middle Eastern students who said, well, here's some things about my culture. I had some Polish students talk to me about theirs, Norwegian students. And all of a sudden, there was this thing that was happening in my room. He said, they absolutely wanted to come more to my classroom. It was fun, because next thing you know, when I started talking about Pythagorean theorem or math, they wanted to learn from me. They turned in more homework for me. And so this concept is such that it is scary for non-Native teachers, especially, to infuse Native content, because number one, they weren't born like that. They got little to nothing in their K-12, and they got even less in their post-secondary. And so when you're asking them to kind of sprinkle in some of this cultural stuff, and I'm using Native American culture as an example, it is a scary thing, because as a teacher, they feel like they're supposed to be the expert. And what we do in this concept of cultural competency is we bring them along this journey. and sprinkle in things so that you also connect your own values, your own norms, your own teachings, that the good ones, right? Treat thy neighbor well, right? Treat others how you want to be treated. That golden rule just resonates. And when that happens, Paul, the synergy of inviting students into your room, making them feel, like they're valued and their identity is also triggered, oh my gosh, things happen. And that's what I would say to, and I've said this, right? I've said this on the Senate floor, right, in the state of Minnesota to them, that, if we just simply crash these things with laws that don't allow, we end up removing the actual objectivity of history and facts, and then don't let our students become subjective in their thinking. Subjective part meaning let them create these perspectives and hammer these things out and find the good in it all, and move forth. So that's kind of my short to long answer on what we've kind of done with critical race theory and some of these other things to maybe derail and literally just kind of scare the pants off of educators.
Yeah, I agree. I think so many people are trying to get involved in the classroom and put up all these barriers for teachers to do their job. I mean, teaching is a relationship business, and if the teacher can't be relatable and can't form those bonds with students, how are they ever going to want to learn from them? I love the idea of sharing with each other, and all of a sudden you lower all those obstacles, and you're all on the same playing field, and yeah, it becomes a much more open and free environment. For me, I think legislators just need to stay out of the classroom and let our teachers do their jobs, right? Crazy. Now, so you've been doing this as a consultant, and you're offering these services. So for the teachers out there, the administrators out there, tell us what, how can you help?
Well, here's the deal. Again, what's good for Native Americans is good for all students. So part of the entire package, when we think about, it's not about what we are teaching. It's really how we are teaching that I focus on. The what comes very natural to educators because they're in a certain field and they've locked into whether it's a grade level elementary or let's say a subject area in high school. And some of the things that I talk about is, if you just simply say, for example, I am a math teacher, I am paid to teach math. That's just kind of, it really does scare me a little bit when folks say that, because then they're basically saying, don't talk to me that I've got to build relationships with kids or have them like me or anything like that. I'm here to teach them math, and I get that. But what I really tried to start with in this business that I've kind of gone on this journey with is, how about we start saying that I teach students mathematics? That's my first journey, is that the students are first. And so when we think of that, we think of it more holistically now. And when we think of all of these learners, right, that are coming, and I really do target schools that have a significant population of Native students, First Nation students. But no question, I've also been right there in big city districts, Minneapolis, St. Paul, you name it, right? Fargo, Grand Forks, Bismarck, and other places. But when we think of these places that have mostly Native American students, or there's a significant population there, or even just a population there, what I like to do is tell them that school climate, school environment are the magic to school success. When our students feel like the environment of the school is a welcoming place and they belong there, in order to belong in a place, there's, I kind of use the medicine wheel, our sacred medicine wheel, that 4 quadrants of that medicine wheel as a guide. And what I tell them that is, when students feel respected, they're going to feel like they belong. Well, how do we build respect? That is mutual again. When students feel accepted in the school, again, they feel like they feel healthy belonging. When students are supported in the school, right? We think of that medicine wheel as we go around that chain. When they're supported, right? Just blanket everything you possibly can. Yes, our Native people, lots of poverty, homelessness, we're the highest represented in those areas, right? Just challenges that are happening. Well, when they feel supported, and again, privately, consciously, right, nurturing, humble kind of way, they're going to feel like they belong. And then, of course, that I don't say it's the final one, but when you look in that northern part of that medicine wheel, when they feel included, when you include them. So yes, I encourage places, if you have the vast majority of Native students in your place, we should see a significant amount of Native cultural things all over the school, from signage to greetings to introductions to yes, having maybe quarterly powwow events. Is smudging utilized? Tobacco offering, like some of these basic yet significant parts of just our natural way of life. I have seen schools transform their school climate and school environment to the point to where, again, when students come more, that's a significant thing. When students are attending, it's tough, but when we think of it, if they're attending in the secondary level 90% or more, of course we want 100%, and elementary 95% or more, there is something that the school program is doing to attract them there. And so that's what we get very intentional on, is creating the school climate and school environment to where students are literally beating the door down to get to that place. And that transcends into higher graduation rates, better performance in school, and everything else. Behavior rates down, right? It's a safe and welcoming, positive place to be.
And that's our goal, right? Is to create an environment where students want to learn, feel that they can learn. That's the goal. All right. So if we have some teachers, administrators, or even students out there, and you want to pass this information on, how do people get in touch with you?
Well, again, here's the primary. This is literally one of the first, let's just say, social media or promotional things that I've ever really done. And I did this, Paul, because I respect so much what PowWows.com does for our people. It's a nesting place. It's a place to, again, just really celebrate, highlight, and honor the great things and the creativity and just the pure glory of what our people can do and what our people are capable of. And the sad thing that I'll have is that I want to share is that the other thing that I noticed getting into this business, First Nations consultants, Ricky White, okay, I do not have a website. I do not have social media. It's like old school smoke signal way right now. And I do it based on referral. The greatest thing that we can get is a compliment. And not to, again, make us feel like we are earning rewards and that, oh, I'm the best. No. The compliment is recognizing that there was some significant work happening. So everything that I've done so far has been word of mouth to these schools and these school districts. Hey, you need help. Your Native population is struggling. They are, again, not engaged. There's all of these things happening. Maybe we need to get a Native consultant in. Paul, I have to say, I wish there were more, but the reality is that there is not many. It's a good business model right now, but there just aren't enough Native American consultants in education or organizational development where Native that serve, let's just say, the core of where Native people are struggling, First Nations people are struggling. So I think what I will do is just simply say fdrwhite@gmail.com. And that's F as in Fabian, D as in Derek, R as in Ricky, FDR, or you can go Franklin Delano Roosevelt, fdrwhite@gmail.com. And really, it's the moccasin trail of just wanting to share and share and share. I feel like that's resonating with, again, my spirit name. I've held positions of leadership, but I really don't believe that that's the true spirit of what my name, Niga Nanakut, is, that guide, that inspirator, that motivator. And again, just wanting to desperately want to change the narrative, and let's even say the trajectory of where our Native student and population is in the midst of this system of education that just, I'm not saying it's broken. It just has never really worked for our people. And I think the recognition of that from schools and school districts, administrators, teachers, it's not a guilt thing where we want to shame them. It's that, you know what, because now in engaging in this journey with me and the Native American best practices approach and the resource guide that I bring, the structure and everything and how we do this, it's so gentle, Paul. It's so kind. It's like grandmother whispers. It's slow is smooth and smooth is fast. And then building that confidence in these folks. They cannot even begin to become culturally competent if we don't start really from the beginning and building cultural knowledge and having them connect with that. And that's the journey that I put them on, is connecting culturally with the teaching, sharing them with them. And from there, that's where this cultural competency really ignites. And as they become more confident, that's when they are ready to be that next buzzword, culturally responsive, where they are then taking a chance, being brave, another grandfather teaching, and just doing the right thing and infusing this into what they're already doing. That's really the glory of it all, right there, my friend.
That's awesome. And it's so needed. You know, my daughter graduated high school just a couple years ago, and I don't want to say it's broken either, but looking back on it, there's so many things that I wish they would have focused a little bit differently. I don't know that we're preparing our students in the best way always. So let's try something different, right? I mean, it's time that we start infusing, instead of trying to put more restrictions on teachers. Let's open ourselves up to trying new things. Because, yeah, some of the stuff is not working for sure. But thank you for what you do, and thank you for what you are doing to help our students. It's awesome.
Well, hapachigigat ni wachi wedum wa gigi piwi jamagoan ni wachi wa ogima ni wa PowWows.com guys. I'm just so grateful and thankful, to be able to do this, Paul. I know sitting there and sharing the stage, we have so many experiences as people, and PowWows do that for us. And at the same time, I just got to go right back to where in education, when our students and our native students, I'm talking in that voice, when they feel grounded in our own cultural ways, and when we have that being recognized and identified in a school, it doesn't have to be a lot, just that little spark that then awakens. I'm telling you, there is so much magic there. And so I'm also, again, just saying how thankful I am to have this opportunity and to be with you here today. You're a champion, and of course, we encourage you to keep doing. We absolutely need this. So, thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Now, you are just one person, and I know while it'd be great to have you in person, I know you also offer some other ways, some creative ways to get you in the classroom or in the school district. So tell us a little bit about that.
Wow, Paul, I'm really glad you asked that. Part of the package of First Nations consultants is I've also, COVID was such a tough time on everybody, but with our people, that connection and relativity was also lost. But COVID also taught us something. It engaged us in Zoom. It engaged us in this kind of virtual experience. And what I found is that utilizing that platform is another way to just bring folks together with this kind of learning. And so a prong that I have within First Nation consultants, and it's really growing and building, is a Teachings with Ricky series. And I never would have believed, but I think it's part of that Indian name again, is, and maybe that announcer, you want to be a showman. You want to, yes, put on a show and a display, but at the same time, infuse these native teachings and practices. So what I've launched is an online opportunity for schools and school districts. So I'll just give you a sampling. In America here, November is Native American Heritage Month, right? But this goes far beyond that, but I'm going to give you a taste and a sample. So what I did is in some of the schools that I've connected with and consulted with, 9 o'clock, kindergartners, all you need to do, teachers, is your job for that day. I'm going to help lead you, so you don't have to be the lead teacher on this day for the content. Ricky, Teachings with Ricky will help you. And so teachers, all you got to do is get into that sacred space. Yes, in front of that smart board or that big screen or projector screen, get your students settled. And here's the link to our session at 9:00. Again, all kindergartners. And so I had literally 1,000 kindergartners at 9:00, right? Every Monday in the month of November from various schools. And they're able to see each other, right? They get all excited about that. And then I go through the teachings and I work with the schools that are involved. And a powerful approach is when you get interdisciplinary with this. So I got in cahoots with especially the art teachers and the music teachers, and yes, some of the Phi Ed teachers. And so for 15-minute blasts, right? And I think kindergarten, maybe we went 10 minutes because, yeah, they're 5, 6 years old. And so it would be Teachings with Ricky where they would learn how to introduce themselves in Ojibwe. And I know there's, hundreds of our languages, but we got to start somewhere. So that would be a component of it, and we'd have them play with that. And they, oh my gosh! So everywhere I go now at these schools, it's like, hey, bonjour, Ricky, hello, Ricky. But I also incorporate some of that educational component. Reading a book, for example. I might do a little read aloud, a little reading with Ricky, and I'll read the book. And then we would take some of the themes in that book. I'll give you an example. Rainbow Crow is one of the books that I read, I think, for first grade. Story about, of course, how, that beautiful bird, it originally had these beautiful colors and there came a big snow, one winter, and they needed help with that. And this is how our people got fire. Our animals, everybody got fire. Well, Rainbow Crow got it. So anyways, long story short, as we get through that book, the teachings again is building that resiliency, treating others well, and sometimes really helping out a friend. Kindness is amazing. Generosity is amazing. Treating others well. And so they would take those teachings, again, what's good for Native Americans is good for all. And they would take those, and then in art, they would color themselves a bird, right? They would make their own pictures of that and post them around and share. But this concept of this online portion of First Nations consultants is really taking shape. And so imagine that kindergarten, right? 9:00, thousands and hundreds of classrooms joining in. All those teachers need to do is get themselves set up, and away we go. Then at 9:15, grade 1, grade 2, grade, and so forth. So that month is, yes, a busy one. But then throughout the year, what I do with many schools and many districts is just, again, Teachings with Ricky. It could be a weekly thing where I supply that content, and it's just another plug and play. But when we do these things live, there's just something that really ignites in those students, like they're engaging, right, with and they're participating in it. And it I think plants something in them. And again, these are Black, white, Asian, like, of course, Native students in the room, and talk about lifting them in that way. It's glorious, and I never would have probably thought of this had COVID not happened. And we need more good things to uplift, ignite, and inspire our folks. So that online virtual piece, yes, live with Ricky, and I do pre-recorded things as well. Teachers might be teaching content like music, for example. They're teaching structure and chorus and different parts of music in a song. Well, I share parts of a song with our powwow style, right? The lead, the backup, first verse, pause, and second verse. Those 5 parts make one push-up, and so they use that. So again, utilizing what is good for Native American students is good for everyone. And this has inspired, again, that type of learning, that type of inquiry, that type of mentor-apprentice, inquisitive learning. And it's just taken shape, and I'm so proud that we're actually getting this thing going. And what I'd also, imagine this, teaming with PowWows.com on this, right? At some point, and just, oh my gosh, having a First Nations explosion with this. And again, it doesn't have to be just me, but I'd love for folks, if they're feeling this concept, hey, part of our way, we know, Paul, is when we share a song, we share our dance style, our beadwork, we encourage people to replicate it. We don't own any of this. We want people to take this. We want to share it. But yeah, thanks for that question. So, virtual learning. Hey?
COVID did a lot of bad things, but there are some stuff that came out of it, and this kind of teaching, and if we can take this and send it to the masses, it's a great resource. So teachers, administrators, if you're watching, let's talk more and let's get this into more classrooms. Love it.
You bet.
So thank you, Ricky, for spending some time with us. Again, if you are a student, a teacher, or work in a school, send them Ricky's information. Send them this interview. Let them watch it. I think it is so important to the cultural competency, getting students more involved, helping teachers relate to students and, meet them at where they are with their culture. So important. We got to stop taking that stuff out of the classroom and help students learn. Let's lower the barriers. Stop trying to put these artificial walls up. It's crazy. Anyways, but thank you for the time. I hope y'all enjoyed that interview. Remember, PowWows.com/win. We do have a contest going on, sponsored by our friends over at Pendleton. You can win a Pendleton blanket or a Pendleton pillow. And thanks again for tonight's sponsor, the Indigenous Voices of America, happening up at the National Museum of the American Indian, June 26th through July 1st, right there on the National Mall in Washington, D.C. Going to be an incredible event with lots of performances. Go check out the schedule over on their website, festival.si.edu. Thank you all for being here and for all your support. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. For all the dads out there, happy Father's Day. Hope you get to spend some time with your family. Thanks, everybody. See you soon.